Hello, and welcome to this Omron webinar. My name is Katie, and I will be your Global Spec moderator. Now let me introduce today's presenter. With us today, we have Patrick Leahy. Patrick is the Business Development Manager at Omron Electronic Components. Patrick, welcome to today's event. And with that, I'd like to pass things along to you to get this webinar started. So go right ahead.
Thank you, Katie. Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Leahy, a Business Development Manager here at Omron Electronic Components. Today, I'm excited to be able to speak with you about switch product solutions enabling higher performance for the power tool market. Throughout today's webinar, there will be several topics discussed, ranging from trends in power tool to switch solutions. So today, we will start talking about the overall power tool market and the trends from the past, current, and future for the power tool market. Then we'll go through some trigger switch solutions and how they play a role within the market. From there, we'll move on to sealed snap action switches, and then ending at tactile switch solutions. From there, I will wrap up with some brief overview of Omron Device and Module Solutions, the company I'm here representing today. Please enjoy. So to start things off, we will start with the trends in the power tool market. So what is the power tool market? I think most of you probably have a good understanding of what that market means to each and every one of you. But just to make sure we're all on the same page of the types of tools and what we're really here to discuss, I will briefly go into the power tool market of what Omron and myself define it as. So we look at it as power tool as a device run by an electric motor or compressed air used to perform some type of labor activity, whether it be drilling, cutting, sanding, or anything like that kind of activity. Within those models, some applications could be your drill drivers, your screwdrivers, your impact wrenches, some of your rotary hammers. There really is a wide range of different tools within the power tool market for all sorts of different types of jobs. Within that, there are three different categories of different types of tools. You have your AC tools, which will be plugged in to get the 250 volts from the outlet. You have your brushless, you have your DC tools, which are cordless battery powered. And you have your air and pneumatic tools that are run by compressed air. What we really see as the biggest growth leader or driver in this market is the cordless DC power tools. What really has driven those cordless DC power tools is the brushless motor technology. Way back in the day, AC tools had started with a brush motor. And then about roughly in the start of the 2000s, we got introduced to the brushless motor that has really carried the DC power tools forward. With that, we also saw a change of battery in that early 2000s. So coupled with the brushless motor, we also saw a shift in batteries to lithium-ion batteries, which were away from nickel-cad batteries. So with that, we were able to see new power levels ever before seen in cordless DC powers. And now what's really driving that new area is the IoT connectivity part. Now tools are becoming Bluetooth and app enabled. They are becoming smart tools. Within the power tool market, there are some following segments. You can look at the professional market, which is mostly your construction market, whether it be commercial building or real estate houses, or even your construction pavers working on the roads. Then you have your more industrial automotive side, which is your assembly lines, your production lines, but it's also your car mechanics and the people who are working on your automotive cars. And then you have DIY, which is your do-it-yourselfers. Those are your customers or your users that are doing a lot of things around their house, whether it's home improvements, to install a new cabinet, or just some simple, putting together that IKEA furniture that you just purchased. And lastly, we have seen a big growth of outdoor power equipment, moving away from your traditional gas-powered, shifting to DC cordless power technology. So the outdoor power equipment, more so your gardening tools, is really a big growth segment. So I know I've already kind of discussed some of the changes in the market, but please allow me to dive a little bit deeper. So over the past 10 years, we've seen DC power tools greatly advanced by the evolution of brushless motors and lithium-ion battery technology. Now we see DC power as the main type of power tool used across various segments within the power tool market. The DC power tools have then overtaken the AC tools and the air pneumatic tools as well. Including to that trend with the battery and the motor, we also see that certain environmental regulations are accelerating the replacement of gas or pneumatic tools to power tools, especially in the outdoor power equipment area. So this trend requires also dust and waterproof for outdoor work, and also high durability for shock and vibration from the higher power. So we've seen some newer requirements coming for the components that are going within the power tools. Now when looking at the chart, back in 2015, we kind of started in that 10 volt to 18 volt DC battery trend. And then starting in 2020, we started to see the 36 to 60 volt trend. And we feel in the future, 2025 and beyond, we might be able to see that tools get into the 100 volts. So with that trend, typically we see it done in the higher power for traditional tools with the battery evolution. But now we are starting to see that expansion in the OPE tools as we are now moving the tools to electric motors away from the engine or air motor tools. But with that, the components within the power tool market are now going to start seeing some more stringent requirements. So with that, we see a higher uptick in the higher voltage current breaking requirement. We see instant more requests for higher durability and longer life, and shock vibration resistance, as well as water and dust proof. Excuse me. So now we will go into the trigger switch solutions, and we will start by introducing you to how those play a role in the power tool market. And then I will move that introducing you to how Omron specific trigger switch solutions can help meet the need of that market. So with that, when you look at trigger switch, they are the most common switch used for motor switching technology across all applications. So with that being said, if you look down here on the right, a trigger switch is what the user will pull to actuate and start to actually use the tool. So as you pull that trigger, the motor will kick in and start to perform the functionality of that tool, whether it be drilling, cutting, or sanding, excuse me. So with that, the trigger switch plays a very critical part of the power tool. If the trigger switch does not work, the whole tool is not going to work properly or even function at all. So having a very high-performing, high-quality trigger switch is very key for power tool market. So with that, we look at a couple different advantages that the trigger switch bring to this market and how they align with certain applications within that market. So we start off by the long life of the trigger switch. That really plays a big part into the high cycle life tools, which is your impact drivers, your drill drivers, your screwdrivers. Those are going to be your most frequently used tool on any job site within the professional and industrial tool market. So because of its high cycle life tool being used every day, it requires a very long life, durable trigger switch. The second key advantage that trigger switches play is their vibration resistance. So as we see this higher power come into these DC power tools, we see the increase of vibration and shock within the tool itself. And with that, they have to have high vibration resistant switches within the tool itself. So this is mostly seen within your impact wrench, your rotary hammers. Those kind of tools that are going to be providing the hammering function as well as the screwing function. We see a very big increase of vibration and shock within those tools. And that really comes into play within all three markets of professional, industrial, and outdoor power equipment. And lastly, when we are talking about outdoor power equipment moving to DC, we know that they are being used outdoors in rugged environments, whether it's the snowblower being used in, negative 10-degree weather with snow coming down, or it's, your weed whacker being used in 95-degree heat with the user who's using it is sweating very profusely, and there's prone to getting water or dust or snow inside the tool. So with that said, it needs very high sealability, IP67. And that would mostly be for the outdoor power equipment, your chainsaws, your lawnmowers, your weed whackers, and things like that. So now that I've set the groundwork for how trigger switches are used and some of the requirements that are held within the power tool market for these components, I would like to take the time to introduce you to Omron's trigger switch solutions and how we can play into this market. So Omron has three types of trigger switch solutions, all for the DC brushless power tool. In the lower left, you will see our C3AW1A switch, which is your standard signal level variable speed output switch. It's capable of 20 milliamp up to 42 volts DC. From there, you will see the C3AW2B. It is the second iteration of our 1A model, and it has the same signal level variable speed output, but it also includes a power contact. So it has that ability to switch up to higher loads. So that 2B model will take you up to 20 amps at 42 volts switching. And then I would like to also introduce you to the third trigger switch that we have, which is the C3BW1B. This will actually be our newest trigger switch, will be released in June of 2024 this year, later on. And this trigger switch is an on-off switch with a power contact that is capable for high capacity switching. And this can get up to 20 amps at 84 volts. So while that is the current standard rating, we also have it capable to function in an abnormality condition operation where it can go up to 300 amps switching a couple times. So I will also show that rating further along in the presentation. So with that, I kind of just want to quickly go over some of the Omron trigger switch advantages. So firstly, I want to cover the C3AW series. So with that, we carry a very nice dust-proof IP6X seal by mounting sealed boots and ultrasonic welding connection between the covering cases. We have very high shock resistance, where it's no chattering of 100 microsecond or more within 3,000 meters per second squared. From there, we have the small size. Within these power tools, these switches are going into the grip of the handle, and a lot of that space is covered by the PWB, a lot of different cables running throughout the tool. So small size of the switch is very key, as the space within those tool grips are at a premium. And then we have very high durability. So we have more than 300,000 operations for mechanical life for the trigger actuation. So with that, I want to also move on to the product advantages for the C3BW. Again, we carry some of the same advantages of the C3AW, which is the dust-proof performance as well as the shock resistance. But also we wanted to highlight the high capacity switching. So we can switch 50,000 operations plus for the electrical life performance under that 20 amp 84 volts switching rating. How we utilize that, or how we can able to achieve that, is through a magnet, which we put in conjunction with the power contact to help extinguish the arc in a quicker amount of time to lessen the deformation of the contacts. With that, we know that the outdoor power equipment space really prefers a nice on-off click sound and feeling. So we have implemented and provided a 25% click rate to give that very satisfying click sound, better user feeling, which is very preferred in that outdoor power equipment segment. So from there, I just wanted to take a quick look inside our newest development, the C3BW. So like I mentioned, this trigger switch is set to be released in July of 2024, and it provides the ability to operate under high capacity condition. So with that, while we are switching that high load, we have installed a magnet to help extinguish that arc and kill that spark. So with that, I wanted to also point out that abnormal rating that I mentioned earlier. So while we have our set spec of 20 amp 84 volt DC for 50,000 operations, we've also included some abnormal conditions and some life cycle testing that we've done. So for 30 amps 84 volts, we can get up to 10K cycles. At 50 amps 42 volts, we can go 50K. 80 amps at 42 volts, 5K. And for extreme, we can go 300 amps at 42 volts at 3 cycles. This is really helpful and key in like a fail-safe mechanism. In case the tool gets jammed up, you have the ability to switch the load through the trigger switch, and it will allow you to add that extra fail-safe mechanism to the tool. The second key feature is the click rate, which is around 25%. And it's just manipulating the operating force and the return force, where the operating force is around 25% greater than the return force, which creates this very nice click feeling or click rate about 25%. For this, I don't want to dive too deep into the key specs, as this will be provided to you so you can kind of go over them. And also we will be providing the data sheets for all these switches for you as well. So I kind of just wanted to highlight again, when you look at this chart, the outline size, they are very slim, small switches, which is very beneficial in terms of saving space within the tool handle. And also you will see the rating where, the C3AW1A is meant for signal level loads, where the 2B is including the power contact. And then you have the BW, which is very high capacity, but just on-off switching. So for the key spec continued, I just wanted to highlight the shock and vibration resistance, as well as the durability, as those are very key specs for the trigger switches. And then also I wanted to highlight that abnormal switching capacity, where for the fail-safe mechanism, we can get up to switching 300 amps for very, very limited cycles. And lastly, for Omron, we know that a lot of the times for power tools, the customers or our customers are looking for modifications to be made to the trigger switch in order to meet the requirement of the application. So we really have a vast ability to customize and modify a lot of aspects of the trigger switch itself to meet your exact requirements. So just some of those modifications that we can do very generically are the trigger cap, any kind of shape, size, or color. Whether you want a 1-finger trigger or a 2-finger trigger, we can accommodate that. The termination method or the connection method, we can make cable changes. So right now we use 28 gauge wire, flat cable. If you want to change the gauge of that wire, we can. If you want to change the length, or if you want to change it to stranded cables, or even just add, an FPC connector or other type of connector onto the trigger switch, we can do any kind of customization to the termination method that you want to use. Also, we can get into, right now they have forward reverse levers. Sometimes maybe you want those removed if it's just a simple on-off application. So we can remove the forward reverse lever. And I encourage you, there are some other modifications that we can do within reason. So if you ever are looking at an Omron trigger switch and you're worried about it not being able to fit your application the right way, you can reach out to myself or your Omron sales representative, and we can help, work on that customized, modified product to fit your exact application. Excuse me. So now I will move into the sealed snap action switch solutions. So sealed snap action switches are used throughout power tool applications in a variety of different functions, ranging from operation acquisitions to safety prevention to user grip detection. We see certain requirements for those components as high durability, high contact reliability, very high vibration shock resistance, IP67, small size, and then the flexibility of different model variations. So within that, on the bottom, you will kind of see some different use cases of where we see sealed snap action switches being used. So within a nail gun, they could be used to prevent a blink shot. So it helps to detect that the nail gun is in fact touching the wall to release the nail so that you could avoid any kind of accidental nail being shot and maybe causing some damage to the work that you're doing, or maybe some harm to the user. You can also do the remaining amount detection. So if you only have 10 nails left and you really should be able to, put more nails in that gun prior than doing a job, there could be a simple check that when you get to a certain amount, the sealed snap action switch notifies you or sends like a little alarm to signal that before you start that next row of drywall, you should reload the nail gun. And then we also get into motor control or just sending the power signal as on-off pulling. And that kind of carries over to, circular saws, chainsaws, and brush cutters as well. When you do get into the saws or wherever there is a blade around, a lot of times the end customers want to make sure that the users are holding onto the tool with two hands in their appropriate manner. So in order to have that grip detection, there's usually like a little lever or handle that will hit the sealed snap action switch to detect the hand grip and allow the saw to be used appropriately. So it's used as a safety functionality. Now I would like to take the time to introduce you to our sealed snap action switch solutions. So Omron has a very wide range of IP67 switches ranging from 0.1 to 5 amps switching capacity. We have two different contact mechanisms within our sealed snap action switch solutions. So the ones that are not within that green sliding contact box, those all will use your traditional snap action contact mechanism that has the butting contacts that kind of snap over. Whereas the ones within the box are our sliding contacts. The reason why Omron has decided to focus a lot of our new development on the sliding contacts is the heightened contact reliability that you will see with that sliding contact type. So a lot of our customers will run very small micro loads into these snap action switches. And with these sliding contact types, you can run lower loads into the switch because the sliding contact mechanism has a natural effect on cleaning the deformation that forms on the contacts. So that sliding contact mechanism will help keep the contacts clean and provide higher contact reliability over a longer time with smaller micro loads. So that's why we've decided to start to focus some of our development on that sliding contact type. And from there, I will introduce you a little bit into the key features of our D2EW and our D2GW. So two of the key features for our D2EW is the ultra small size. So when you look at the class sizes of the sealed snap action in the industry, the D2EW would fall under the smallest class size within the sealed snap action variety. And again, that is very key with the power tool, as the space within those handles, within those grips, are very much at a premium. So with that, one of the best key features that the D2EW has is we created this unique pin plunger shape that allows for multi-angle operation and also allows for operation without a lever. So the first one is the multi-angle operation. A lot of the times what you find with traditional snap action switches is they can't be operated from a horizontal point. It can only be vertical. That is in nature due to a lot of the pin plungers on the market. That is kind of your normal pin plunger right there that needs to kind of have a vertical actuation. So with this new pin plunger, and it comes to that point, you can go horizontal or vertical in any direction. And that pin plunger, once it hits with the shaft, it will just go down and actuate. So with that comes a second key feature, and that's it does not require a lever. So when you have to use the lever, you have to have a larger space within the tool that's going to be allowed for that snap action switch to be actuated. Typically with a lever, you have to have a cam, a rotating cam, and that lever will have a little bit more space required to actuate it. Whereas with the D2EW, yes, you can use the cam, but you don't need to interact with some lever. So you don't need to offset it in a way that it has to hit the lever. You can put it almost directly on top of the switch or right next to it, and then provide just that little easy motion to activate it. Some of the other key features is for the assembly team, we have incorrect assembly prevention structure. So because our pin plunger and the posts are left and right asymmetrical, it avoids misassembly because you can assemble it in both different orientations and it will still be able to align and slot into the position that you have for that switch. Also within the D2EW, we have the ability to do ultra micro loads. So the minimum applicable load is 50 microamps, which helps contribute to energy saving. So within the power tool application, we know that lithium ion batteries for a lot of the professional workers, like they have 4 or 5 lined up on the side for their whole days of activity, so that when their battery goes out, they can switch in a new battery. So the power tool manufacturer knows this, and they want to make sure that nothing is draining the battery when no work or anything is being done. So because we allow for that very low minimum applicable load, it helps contribute to saving that battery life and not overusing it on just the sealed snap action switch. So it allows the end users to get, a couple more cuts out of their saw, or a couple more, nails into the wall with their nail gun. Also within that, there's model variation. So within the D2EW series, we offer solder terminals and also long press fit terminals, as well as single pull, single throw normally open and single pull, single throw normally closed. And with that, we just wanted to hit on that the D2EW has a rating of 100 milliamp at 12 VDC with a minimum applicable load of 50 microamp at 5 VDC. The durability is 300,000 operations minimum. And then I will leave the other spec and key technical information for your viewing later. And I will also attach a data sheet to this webinar. So from there, I wanted to also highlight the D2GW series. Again, it kind of carries the same size as the D2EW. So its ultra small size is a very key for this market. We also look at the installation shape as it contributes to the overall unit size reduction, as there is a mounting slit that allows for easier and less space being taken up for the mounting within the power tool. For the high contact reliability, we also use double-sided twin contacts, which creates a very big high performance for insulation resistance. So a lot of those outdoor power equipments that will have a lot of power kind of coming in as soon as you kick on the motor, this double-sided twin contact will help, resist against that. And then also we do have a wide variety of different models and different termination styles. So as I talked about the mounting and the benefits, So because of the symmetrical shape with the push button located in the center, it actually enables reverse mounting availability. So you can mount it on this side, or if you were to flip it and mount it, it still would work within the same functionality. And then I know that in the past I was talking of the negative effects of lever. But if you are going to find yourself using a lever, this D2GW has the ability to actually have a lever be able to be installed onto it, even though it is very ultra small size. And then the press fit terminals, as far as the flat shape of the cover, help for easier installation, and it helps also for saving space within the device. And then there is the key specification for the D2GW. It has 200,000 operations minimum and has a rating of 10 milliamp at 13.5 BDC with a minimum applicable load of 1 milliamp at 5 BDC. So now we'll get into our tactile switch solutions. So tactile switches are used throughout power tools for function settings, user interfacing, and even clutch detection in certain types of tools. They are a great alternative to membrane switches due to their crisp click feeling and sound that is made to alert users when pressed. This is very critical about the sound and feeling, as oftentimes on job sites when power tools are used, it is a very noisy environment. So if they are pressing the function switching or if they are pressing buttons, they want to be able to hear a little bit of a louder click feeling or click sound to be able to tell that they did press the button and it did in fact work. And with the crisp click feeling, oftentimes a lot of users are going to be wearing gloves when they interact with their power tools. And when you have a traditional membrane switch, it's very mushy. And when users are wearing gloves, it's very hard to have that tactile feedback of the clear press. So with gloves being used a lot, it is very beneficial to have that tactile switch so that they could feel the tactile feedback through the glove. And some of the component requirements are high durability, tactile feedback, and then surface mount and very low profile. Some of the applications we see within the power tool are the battery chargers or the battery indicator switch on the tools itself, whether it's to indicate the battery life that's remaining, or if it's on the charger, it might indicate how much longer your battery has to reach that full charge. Within impact wrenches and even nail guns, you have like a clutch operation detection, or you have just a simple nail press detection for the nail gun. And then for power tools, it could be used for function switching and or power control. So for Omron, we have a very vast variety of tactile switch offerings. I'm not going to highlight any one series in particular, just because a lot of them can be used across multiple applications. So our series within the tactile switches are the B3 series, whether it's B3S, B3SE, B3SN, B3F. B3 is usually the start of our tactile switch lineup. So with that being said, some of our wide variety of offering could be, whether it's we offer through hole and surface mount, we offer sealed, unsealed. We offer a wide range of different operating forces within each sub-series. We also offer some switches that have a rubber plunger versus your standard PPT plunger. You can get different heights, whether it's a little bit slimmer or you want a kind of a raised actuator because that fits your application better. And then the two traditional footprints that the Omron tactile switches come in are the 6x6 millimeter and the 12x12 millimeter. We do have one exception, which is the B3U, which is very ultra small, ultra subminiature. It's about a 1x2 millimeter tactile switch, and that would be the one exception to these two footprint sizes. And then there is kind of like the plethora of offering that Omron has. So the product advantages that Omron carries is high contact reliability. So even with our sealed construction for IP67, we provide a high contact reliability in dusty environments as well as proven long life. Also, the one thing I want to hit on that also shows this in crisp tactile feeling is throughout the life of our tactile switches, whether it's 2 million cycles or 200,000 cycles, when you press that switch the first time, the 100,000th time, or the 2 millionth time, that same sound and crisp feeling will remain the same throughout the life of the switch. So that is something that Omron finds very important. We don't want the life of the switch to be 2 million, but then at 500,000 cycles, you start to get a mushier feel. We want the same feel at stroke number 1 to be the same as stroke number 200,000 to be the same as 2 million. So with that, we really hyper focus on our lot sizes having very small variations in the load versus stroke. So if you start to see larger variations like some of our competitors that I show in this chart, you start to get different feelings within the same tactile switch. And that is not good. You could have the two tactile switches come off the same line and carry a very different feeling. And within the power tool market, because these power tools, a lot of the users are very brand conscious. And once they kind of formulate their opinion on, okay, I'm going to use this brand, they kind of stick with it. They don't want to see variation between the way that tactile switches or even the way that trigger switches feel from platform to platform. So typically, they do not like to see such kind of variation in the feeling of these switches from tool to tool. They start to think that something is wrong. So that is very key and something that Omron hyper focuses on. The other thing is what we've seen is an increase of requests for slimness. So if you kind of look on the chart on the right, so the B3FS4 is one of our oldest tactile switches, and it's a little bit larger, coming at 4.3 millimeters. We've started to see, requests come in for more 3.4 millimeter, and then even start to see more of the 2 millimeter variety. So we have started to see a lot of these requirements start to come in for a little bit more of the slimmer tactile switch. And my last little pitch here for tactile switches is I wanted to highlight some differences and some benefits of using tactile switches over membrane. So the one on the left is tactile switch and the one on the right is your membrane switch. The structure is what the structure is. It just shows a little bit of the different makeup and nature of the membrane. Membrane, you usually just have a sheet, and then there's a space, and then a button, and then it's covered. And then it kind of has just the contact dome feeling. But with the tactile switch, you have the whole package, and then you have the button interacting with the reverse spring and the contact to create a better tactile feedback. So with that, the feel is quite different. With the membrane, you get this soft, almost mushy operation feeling. And with the tactile switch, you get a very sharp, clear, tactile feedback feel. So with that, the operation sound is a little bit still close because you still have the spring that helps reverse. But the durability, this is where you start to see tactile switches have even more of an advantage. So usually tactile switches are 3, 4, 5x more durable than membrane switches. And that's just because the way of the makeup and structure of the membrane switch, there's not a lot of protection for the contact wear and the rubber deterioration of the product. So it will just normally wear out quicker than your normal tactile switch. So with that becomes the replaceability. A lot of the times, if not every time, the tactile switches can be changed as one piece breaks. So if you have a board that has 100 tactile switches and only one breaks, you can just replace that one tactile switch. Whereas for membrane switches, because the membrane switches are usually overlaid on one big sheet and the buttons are all arranged that way, if one button or one membrane switch goes out, you have to change out that whole overlay. So it starts becoming expensively cost, and it also becomes just time prohibitive. So these are kind of some benefits of tactile switches over membrane. So that kind of covers what I have for the power tool market specifically. And now I will move into just a very quick overview of Omron device and module solutions. So this is a kind of just a snapshot of the products that Omron offers. So within our portfolio, our highest concentration is on relays. We have a lot of general purpose relays, MOSFET relays, low signal relays, and then high power DC relays. We also have our switches that I kind of went over today, making up 24% of our overall sales. And then in the lower right-hand corner, we have a lot of different sensors and modules, ranging from flow sensors to vision image sensing to touch sensors. And then we do also carry a wide range of connectors, ranging from your mill flat cable connectors to your D-subs, to your FPC, and then also some industrial cabling connectors as well. So before I kind of leave you for the day, I just also want to encourage all of you to visit components.omron.com to either learn more about today's solutions that I went over or all the other product offerings that Omron has. Also, I encourage you to, while you're on that website, to please subscribe and become a member of our Component Insider Group so that you can stay up to date on all the exciting news, product announcement, and all the events and activities that we have forthcoming. So with that, again, my name is Patrick Leahy, and I just wanted to say a big thank you for spending your time with me today. And I hope to, maybe have some connection with any of you all in the future. So thank you again. And again, my name is Patrick Leahy. You can reach out to me with questions at patrick.leahy@omron.com. Thank you again, and enjoy your day.
All right. Thank you so much, Patrick, for that great presentation. So we do have some questions that have come in from our audience members. We are going to move into taking those live questions now. All right. So Patrick, the first question we have here is Omron able to customize the trigger switch to fit our application?
Yeah, thank you, Katie. And the answer would be yes. So Omron is able to customize and modify certain aspects of the trigger switch to fit your application. Such modifications could include changing up of the trigger cap, whether it's the shape, the size, or the color. Also, we see a lot of requests come in for the termination connection, whether it's changing the length of the cables or changing the type of cables or adding a connector to that connection terminal. And with that, Omron has the ability to do this in small lot sizes. Due to our production facility, we can do customizations in only a couple thousand pieces. So yes, we are able to modify the trigger switch.
All right, Patrick, thank you so much for that answer. All right, next one in our queue here. All right, this person is asking, is Omron's trigger switch waterproof?
Yeah, so we actually classify it as an IP6X rating, but we do have the test data to prove that we do qualify for IP67. Due to just different contractual obligations, we are unable to market it as a full IP67 solution, but we do have test data on file that we can share that will show our performance in such waterproof testing.
All right, great. Thank you so much for that answer. Okay, moving on in the queue here. This person is asking, is Omron able to customize the sealed basic switch or tactile switch to fit our application?
Great question. So for the sealed basic switches, we are able to do more customizations than centered around our tactile switch. For sealed basic switches, we are able to create like cable or wiring harnesses or create special levers, whether they are uniquely shaped or you want to add different crimps in it. We can do a lot of that customization for our sealed basic switches. Unfortunately for our tactile switches, since they are produced in a fully automated manufacturing environment, it is a little bit more difficult for us to implement changes on the fly to our tactile switches. But I encourage you that if you look at our tactile switch offerings and you don't happen to find one that directly fits your application, to please reach out to myself or your Omron sales representative, and we could look into trying to get something to fit your needs in a more satisfying way.
All right, Patrick, thank you so much for that answer. So a quick reminder for our audience members, if you do have a question today, that Q&A window's there for you to enter in and hit submit. And just a reminder that we have some great items listed in our resource widget that is just below the bio window. We've got items in there. If you click on one of those items, you are able to download that and take it with you today. So while we're doing our Q&A session here, feel free to start grabbing those resources. All right, Patrick, moving on to our next question in the queue here. This person is asking, are samples readily available?
Yeah, so samples for the C3AW and C3AW2B1A switches are readily available. You can contact or reach out on our Omron, components.omron.com website, or myself or your sales representative to help you get samples. Also, for our sealed basic switches and our tactile switches, we have a wide range of samples readily available as well, or a lot through our distribution channel as well. And you can find, the distributors that we work with on our website through one of the drop-down menus.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Okay, next one here. How long does Omron see the transition being from past gas-powered OPE to DC?
Great question. So we've already started to see that transition taking place. I guess to answer that very straightforward, it's always difficult to try to guess how long the market will be saturated from such kind of movement from gas power to DC. Like I mentioned, we've already started to see that transition. And with certain regulations going in California first and then spreading across the U.S., I would imagine by 2030, you are seeing more than 50% of the OPE power tools utilizing DC over the traditional gas powered.
All right, thank you so much for that answer. We have a couple more questions in our queue here, so we're going to keep going. This next one here, is it possible to use the C3AW-1A for a micro load? And then it's saying 10 micro A at 3 VDC.
Yeah, that's another good question. And, while that switch is rated for 20 milliamp at 42 volts, we have done and conducted testing as well as we do have customers that are using it in a different load setting, like around 10 microamp at 3 VDC. And when you do see that you put a micro load into the C3AW, the life of the switch goes well past 1 million cycles. So if you do put more of like a lower logic level into the C3AW1A, you can increase the life. And again, Omron can help provide testing support or the previous test results that we have done and conducted under those kind of load ratings.
All right, thank you so much for that answer. Next one in the queue here. For the C3BW, does Omron have any data or evaluation for high capacity switching for 100A at 42 VDC utilized as a fail-safe mechanism?
Yes, we do. So Omron prides ourselves on the amount of engineering support that we can provide the customer in addition to, what is just the data sheets and spec sheets that are on our website. So we do have data and we have evaluated, 100 amp at 42 volts in our C3BW. And we can take it one next step. When we work directly with our customers, a lot of the time, if they just tell us the requirements for their testing, we can run the whole test based off the more like the realistic load that is going to be seen within the customer's power tool. So we can do a lot of that testing in-house and supply that information back to you guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Patrick. So we do have a couple of questions left in the queue. One more time, just that Q&A window's there for you guys. If you have any last minute questions, feel free to enter those in now. We have a couple minutes left, so we're able to take one or two more questions. So feel free to enter into that window. And then just a reminder about the resources that you can download and take with you today. So go ahead and grab those if you have any interest in them. So Patrick, a couple more questions left in our queue here. This next one is asking, does Omron Tactical Switches keep their feeling throughout the life of the switch?
Yes, so that is something that we really focus on here at Omron. Throughout any life of our tactile switches, we really want the first click to feel the same as the last click. We really want to retain that feeling, that same crispness. After all, our customers really like the way that Omron tactile switches feel, and we want to be able to keep that benefit to our customers throughout the whole life of the switch.
All right. Thank you so much for that answer. So we're going to take one more question today, and then we will start to wrap things up since we are close to the top of the hour. So Patrick, this last one we're going to grab today. Does the D2EW need to be used with a lever or have single actuation direction?
Another good question, so thank you for that. And with the D2EW's unique pin plunger, it actually allows for omnidirectional operation. So you can go at a vertical orientation to actuate the plunger, or you can go horizontal. And also it does not require a lever to be used. And it's all going towards the fact that we are using that unique pin plunger shape that supports these key benefits.
All right. Thank you so much for that last answer. So for all the attendees out there, we are going to start to wrap the webinar up right now. First, I would like to say a huge thank you to Patrick for giving such a great presentation and for answering a handful of our attendees' questions. So Patrick, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you. And for our audience members, thank you all for being a part of this webinar event. Take care, and we will speak with all of you soon.